Okay.
So, hi, that's wonderful. Well, I'll get everything started then. And we don't have a session after this, so we have a little bit of extra time.
Okay, good.
Um,
Thank
Great.
you.
Yeah, so our session is titled Global Education for Social Pedagogues. My name is Kathy Nakagawa, and I'll be serving as the moderator. I'm from Arizona State University.
Yeah.
Just as a couple of reminders up front, we are recording this session. At 1600 GMT, the session, What Happens in a Group is of the Group, unfortunately had to be canceled because the presenter was ill. And I think that's all of my announcements. So I'm going to introduce our speaker for this session. Dr. Niels Peter Rygaard is a Danish-American child psychologist specializing in children and youth in care who suffer from separation traumas. For 40 years, he cooperated with social pedagogues working in institutions and foster care systems. His book, Severe Attachment Disorder in Childhood, has been translated into 12 languages, and his Fairstart Foundation has educated more than 500 instructors in 26 countries in how to train caregiver groups in attachment-based care. His program has improved the lives of 40,000 children. For this work, he recently received the American Psychologists Association's Award for International Humanitarian Work. Please join me in welcoming Niels Peter Rygaard. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, I'm not too familiar with Zoom, it seems, but thank you very much for inviting me. My name is Niels Peter, and I've been a child psychologist for almost 40 years. I started working with kindergartens and development, but then I ended up 10 years in a home for severely disturbed children. And those were the most deprived children I've ever seen. And I simply couldn't understand them. So they were hunting each other with knives. And, you know, one boy, he jumped on the head on the other and said, "Wow, it sounds like an eggshell." So these were children who were so deprived, the worst ones in Denmark. And I was out of my wits. But gradually I got to know them and got to know what attachment disorder really is. So I started doing research on them, what happened early in their life, what kind of deprivation or violence or abuse had they been exposed to. So after 10 years, I thought I'm not completely a beginner anymore. So I wrote a book called Severe Attachment Disorder, and in no time it was in 12 languages. And so I was invited around the world, first to 10 countries in Europe to talk, and then to Latin America, then to Asia, Spain, God knows where. What I could see was that, well, we have if we look at the future, we have more and more children who are abandoned by their parents. Every day, 30,000 adults have to flee their homes. So we have 70 million refugees, right? That's a real crisis. We also have about 2 to 3 million children who grow up in orphanages and foster families, maybe 4 million, nobody knows. And so many children are losing their parents today. Because we used to live in small villages around the world, but now everybody is moving into cities and everybody is crossing borders. You know what I saw in Mexico last year? Thousands of refugees from Honduras and Venezuela who were stopped at the border and now live in camps. So I've been looking at that for years. What I did was I decided to make a global organization to transform research in child attachment and care, quality care, into educations for social pedagogues and other professions. And also to develop training programs they could use to train groups of caregivers, train foster families, local foster families, and train orphanage staff. So what I'm doing is, or we are doing here at the Fairstart Foundation, is that we translate research into 6 months educations for staff. They follow them in online classes, classrooms, and we give them feedback online every day. They have 8 modules, and we give them feedback online from Fairstart after doing research and after making language versions. So can I ask, are you from Japan?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
No, I grew up here. I'm 3rd generation Japanese American.
Okay, because you know, people, they just grabbed this idea. And some years ago, a Japanese professor, Kamikado Katsuhiro from Nagano University, he asked if he could come to Denmark. And we talked for 3 days, and he made a Japanese version of the program. And that's how it happens all the time. You know, researchers are so generous, and the professionals I meet are simply stunning and very helpful. Everybody wants to help those children. So even though we are only 4 staff in the Fairstart Foundation, we have educated more than 500 instructors around the world who have joined our online classes. And they have trained the caregivers of some 40,000 children in care. Now, I'd like to show you, just to explain to you how we do. We start making research with a partner organization. For example, in Africa, we educated the staff of SOS Children's Villages in 4 countries, Zanzibar, Rwanda, Tanzania, and Kenya. And they have trained the foster families of some 5,000 children, you know, poor foster families living in the countryside. And one of the outcomes is, for example, that we got a feedback from a foster mother who said, I used to raise my children with a stick, and if they were naughty, I would beat them. But now I have learned that personal relations and being calm and talking to them is much better. So we are lifting people out of the old way of bringing up children, the impersonal ways, into making relations work and seeing themselves as attachment figures. So now I'll try to see if I can open the video. I just put it on the screen, right?
Welcome to Fairstart's Group Care Instructor Education. Approximately 2.7 million children worldwide grow up in institutional care with little or no contact to their parents. Thus, the need for educating and training the people taking care of these vulnerable children is huge. Our education qualifies you to teach caregivers how they provide better care for abandoned, traumatized, and dysfunctional children and youth. The overall aim of the education is to give children a fair start so they have the best conditions for a bright future and are able to contribute to a better world. As an instructor, you work from a material that has already been used to improve the life conditions of more than 25,000 children around the globe. The education takes place in an online classroom where you will be guided through 8 modules by Niels Peter Reigard. He is a child psychologist of more than 35 years, internationally recognized for his expertise in attachment theory. Each module consists of video and text material, as well as reflection assignments and group discussions with your fellow students. During each module, you meet physically with a group of caregivers and train them in 3-hour sessions. We will prepare you for your role as an instructor by providing theory about motivation techniques, learning strategies, group dynamics, and organizational development. This will enable you to teach caregivers about relation development, attachment theory, and secure caregiver behavior. However, you do not only communicate theory. You help caregivers understand the importance of implementing the theory, and you give them the practical tools to do so. Furthermore, you facilitate improved cooperation between the staff and their daily leaders, because research shows that children benefit tremendously from having adults around who agree with each other and who are able to handle conflicts in a constructive way. The teaching material, which has been tested in more than 15 countries, is based on everyday situations, and it shows consideration for local culture, making it easy for caregivers to recognize and identify with. This supports one of Fairstart's most important principles, that all participants, both instructors and caregivers, should be co-creators of their own learning and development processes. Upon completion of the course, you have earned a certificate and you become part of an international network of instructors. But most importantly, you have developed competences to continue helping caregiver staff to create positive changes in the lives of placed children. Sign up now and join us to help children save the world.
Okay, thank you. That's what we do. We are an NGO, and what I have seen around the world is that social caregivers, social pedagogues and caregivers, they work under horrible conditions. They have too many children in care. Those children are very difficult to work with because most of them are traumatized or suffer from separation anxiety because of the losses they have experienced. And in my opinion, the real experts are those who work with the children every day. So to me, it's very important to give people some basic knowledge about theory and research, what works when you work with these children, and and then let them design their own local practices. So now we have, I think we are up to 40,000 children, 512 instructors in 26 countries. And the big thing about this program is that you don't have to pay a lot to travel in order to be educated, because you study with your classroom friends or the other staff. So for SOS Children's Villages, we did a lot. What we also have done until now is for Greenland government, we made educations in Inuit and Danish, because those are the two major languages. We made a cross-professional education for teachers and orphanage pedagogues. Greenland has 7% of their children in care. And now we have made, we are planning, if we can find funding, to make Spanish versions. We are making a partnership with a Spanish NGO called Nuevo Futuro. They work in Spain and Latin America. So first we will make the education in Spanish, and we'll make training programs in Spanish too. And when we have tested that in Spain, I've been traveling a lot in Latin America over the years. I lectured in Chile and Mexico and Peru and Honduras. So we'll spread the educations and trainings in Latin America. What I think is most fantastic is what I experienced for the first 10 years where I worked is that social pedagogues are a driving force in improving the lives of children at high risk. So my mission in life is to support them as I can. I think they are the most important group because, you know, there's a lot of researchers, but research doesn't change the life of anyone. There's a lot of conferences, but that doesn't change the life of anyone. What really changes children's life is to have someone or people who are professionally educated and who care for them. That's my experience. And that's why my target group is the real experts, those who care for the children every day. Yeah, that's more or less what I have to say. That's it.
Wonderful. Thank you.